Hi there, and welcome back to the next lecture of how to draw farm cartoony animals. Now we are going to look at how you can design a duck. And there are many different kind of ducks, but we are going to focus on farm ducks, the white kind of ducks. So you can check some images online on ducks to see how they look like. And what we are going to talk about here, besides how to draw a duck, I'm going to teach you how to draw a cartoony older duck and a cartoony younger duck. So you will not get only the specific lecture of how to draw a duck, but how to design a character that are similar in their features, in the way that you can put them, for example, in one book and you can say that these designs come from the same book. So how do you do that? Now let's start with designing a duck or a grown-up duck. And as I talked before about putting a character in the animal, so here is something very specific because ducks are very funny animals, they look funny. They look like a little bit like ladies, like chatty ladies, old ladies, or, quacking and walking funnily. So you would associate them maybe with a neighboring lady who has this funny kind of habits. So I'm going to use that as designing like a mom duck and a chatty mom duck. So starting from a circle again, drawing it, and I'm going to focus this time on bringing the face of the duck or its cheeks lower down. So I'm going to do another sphere or ellipse lower down, as if this is going to be the cheeks of the duck. And I'm going to use a 3/4 line again, splitting this circle in two, almost like here, to design where the face is going to be. Now the next thing I'm going to do is design where the body is going to be. And I'm going to pick this large body, like a fat little duck, or well, it's not little, but they have these large bodies in comparison to their faces. So I'm going to exaggerate that even more to make it look like, this kind of goofy, nice little lady who gives you cookies and cooks well, invites you for lunch and dinner. So I'm not really sure now, as you see, how big I can do this body. So I'm just going to expand the circles more to give it more, to get more of a feeling how big I want this duck to be. Because later on I can use this circle, the ending of this circle, or this one here, but just scribbling like that, doodling like that, and having the thickness of the circle being so wide, it gives me a perception of guidelines upon which I can decide where I want the circle to end. And now the ducks have some kind of these floppy feet. So I'm just going to have the ellipses here as a placeholders. Placeholder meaning I'm going to approximately decide where I want the feet to be. And one foot is in front of the other. And I'm going to mark it like that, approximately. So what I want my proportions to be is that I want the face or the head being smaller in proportions to the body. So I can have this look of the duck being like an auntie, So, and now there is a thing with duck where you have a front of the body sticking out a little bit. So I can split this circle of the body in two parts, one being the main body, but even this one I can split as having the chest area bulging out with another sphere. So I'm just going to decide approximately here. Again, I can do large circles because I don't need to, things don't need to be black and white yet. They don't have to be put in stone yet before I really have decided. So I'm just going to doodle that, and I see, okay, this looks fine to me. And I'm going to leave all the other details for the next part, like for example, whether the upper part of the legs are going to be approximately here, like the same as the chicken, they're like puffy kind of part over here where the legs are going to be. I can even decide that, because I can decide that 3/4 here are going to be also 3/4 for this sphere, the circle, where the body splits in two and their symmetrical parts, and maybe even for the body, which is the lower part, I'm going to pick up this sphere, this circle here, and split it in two as well. So I'm going to estimate that there's going to be one part of this upper part of the legs over here, and another is going to be a little bit above this leg, so approximately over here, but there's going to be on the other side of the body. So again, we may not see this in the drawing. Now, let's leave it at that, the sketch, and let's start to design the face, which will give us a more feeling of who this character is, and it will guide us towards deciding the other features of the body as well. So, ducks have this beak, which is quite different than the chicken. So let's make the base of the duck's beak here, and it's slightly larger. And here we want to have another ellipse form for the beak of the duck. And you can use again this line here to decide where the middle is going to be of the beak. So approximately here. Let's leave it roughly at that. Now let's design the eyes of the duck, and I want to have these goofy eyes, cartoony eyes that are meeting kind of towards the middle, if this is the middle of the face, on both sides of the face. And this one is going to be rather squashed because it's on the other side of the face. And I'm using a perspective change, which is defined by this sphere, approximately. Again, you don't have to worry about being completely correct. Just know that this perspective change will squash the eye and will make it a little bit much smaller in perspective than this one. And this is something you're going to get used to the more you draw. So now let's have the eyes again, maybe just goofy eyes, cartoony eyes, a little bit cross-eyed, which gives it this goofy, cute little baby look, even though it's an auntie. We want to have this design and the baby design being from the same illustrated book, so to say, from the same movie. So we're going to put similar elements on this duck and on her child, or the baby duck. And now that we have these features done, now let's make the neck of the duck. So if there is a line, it's not a straight line like that, but it's curvy line, because the neck of the duck is connected approximately here in the middle of the chest, and we've decided, as we know how now this sphere here is the chest area, it's very easy to find the middle spot where the neck connects, because the neck doesn't connect on the side of the chest, right? So it becomes more logical in that way when you have the guidelines. So you have a sphere here, which is also in perspective a little bit. because this half of the sphere and this half needs to be symmetrical, but here you take into consideration the perspective change, because this sphere here turns around, it's rounded, so this sphere is going to be shorter and more squashed in the same matter as the eye is. And now we can use this line here to decide, okay, the neck is going to go in this direction, and it's very easy then to connect the neck using maybe a part of the head like here, and just drawing these lines here to this sphere that connects this sphere. You don't need to draw all of the lines. And now again, this is again just approximately where the neck is. We are going to refine this within the process of designing the character. Now that we have already something that looks like a duck, I mean, let's go and design even the feet. And again, we have talked about that we want to tilt things in diagonal a little bit, the feet and this one as well. We want to avoid straight lines, because straight lines give us stiffness. It makes it look unnatural, so to say. There are not many straight lines in nature. Even if you see trees, if you see, okay, the perspective, the horizon is a straight line, but there is a different kind of way if you draw if you draw cartoony characters, or if you draw organic characters and organic features, how to use the diagonal and straight line. So now we have the basis of the duck. Let's start refining it. So we've said we want to have the cheeks of the duck being in this sphere here. So I'm just going to enhance that, still loose, and use this part of the sphere to have the other cheek. And I'm going to continue even lower here. So, and now let's define the beak. And the beak is like the nose. So I'm just going to use the part of the sphere here to define the beak, and the lower part of the beak will be just like really, really low. I'm not gonna see it even, because they have this, you know, a matter of fact kind of look, something maybe a little sulking, a little worried, a little chatty. So I'm just going to use even this part here to design the ending of the duck's beak, and even just around this sphere here, and use the ellipse placeholder here to round up the beak. If this is hard for you, just do it a couple of times. It doesn't matter if you don't have it for the first time. You maybe even have a different kind of character. It doesn't matter how you do it. I'm just going to show you this example of how to make these cartoony ducks. And now I can see exactly where the beak is and how to design the lower part of the beak, like that. And now we have already a beak forming in here, and pretty much in the right place. And now let's have the eyes a little more defined, and this one here, because it follows the perspective change. Let's refine the cheeks, even pulling them lower down, still with the blue pencil. And now we have the top of the head, like that. And let's have even now the neck. Now, do I want to continue the neck up to here? No, I don't want to. I'm just going to keep it loose like that so far. Let's bring the chest. So I'm just going to refine, use the guidelines of this sphere here to find the chest of the duck. And now maybe it's time to find the wings. And because I want the duck to be more humanized than usually, I'm going to make one ellipse for the front part of the wing and one for the back part of the wing. And as a humanized character, because we humans have our arms on our shoulders, I will assume that whatever the chest of the duck is, here are the duck's shoulders. So I'm going to use this part of the sphere here of the duck as the shoulder of the duck. So my ellipse here, who it will align for the upper part of the duck's wing, which will be used as an upper part of the arm, simulating arm. That's going to be this part, basically, attached to the duck's shoulders. And the other shoulder will be on the other side of the duck. So I'm going to do another placeholder, and this shoulder, again, this arm is going to be shorter than this one because of the perspective change. And this one, I'm going to bring this arm as if pointing stuff. And now I'm going to do something a little bit more advanced and give this duck even fingers. And we've had this experience now with the chicken, how the fingers look like, using the feathers as fingers. So just draw really quickly these feathers, and these feathers are going to be in a pose, you know, like that. So, oh, I'm an auntie and I'm, a matter of fact, very important, and I have, by the way, very important things to say, you know. So feel yourself into this situation. Maybe bring some pictures of this kind of ladies, how they hold their arms, and imitate these poses with very rough spheres here, or ellipticals. And here, oh my, I have something very important to say. Listen to me. This is something that this character would say. You see, it doesn't have to be necessarily correct for the time being. And this is now a pose that we can work from. So let's continue with the rest of the body. Now that we have this placeholder, we can see some wings here, we can see some feathers. So let's just refine them as wings, as feathers. Like that, and this feather is bent this way. You see how easy it is when you have the blue pencil and when you're not afraid. This is really the basis of you starting to draw, is not to be afraid. You can redraw, you can draw on top of the drawing and refine lines. But as soon as you start deciding that this line is forever and forever staying there, and that's my final line, and I'm never gonna draw another line, and if that's wrong, my career is over, and I'm never ever gonna draw again because I'm worthless. I did a wrong line. I mean, listen how ridiculous this sounds, right? But that's how we think, you know, that's how people has made us think that, you know, as soon as you do one drawing and it doesn't work out, you are out of the question, you are out of the business, and so on. But this never happens. I mean, how many times have you gotten into a car and driven from the first time? I mean, never. That's because I'm learning to drive a car now. Funny. Anyway, so now I can choose to refine the duck's feet here and this one. So I'm going to use a part of this sphere or this ellipse, and just I'm going to use a part of this body to define the duck's body. And you see, I already know what it is. Just follow the circle that you see, because even if I drew it as a very, very thick line, I can clearly see what a body is. My mind is searching connection. My mind is connecting the dots itself. And now here, let's use these spheres to define the legs. And it's so easy. You can see where the nails are of the duck, like here and here and here. They are contained within this ellipse. And now we just connect them. Connect this line and this one, and this we have one on the back, like that, and this is like that too. Similar to the chicken, they have similar legs. One thing you can get to learn how to draw is basically to observe how things are done. And here is already the duck, and now we have the duck's tail. So just make another ellipse here. Doodle, doodle, doodle. It doesn't matter that you have already drawn, you can also doodle it. Mess up the drawing, mess up the drawing. Don't keep it clean. Think about learning, don't think about a single drawing. And now you can refine it by saying, okay, this is the tail. And here you have it, it's the duck. And now, you know what we are going to do? Because we've said that this is going to be a humanoid character, it's going to be very close to humans, and we've set up that this to be a lady, a neighbor. Let's give her a funny haircut. You know, she just fixed her hair, so let's make this kind of what do you call it? You know, she just came out from the bathroom. They are always curling their hair, and this is an archetype of what this kind of a neighbor lady does. You know, that's something we've seen in films, we've seen maybe ladies in our neighborhood, but this is an archetype. An archetype means that this is a person that we've assigned a certain attributes to. How we see these kind of people. They are not true all the time, but this is something that we use in films or in books, in illustration, to just lead our audience to fill in the characteristic of a certain character that we haven't put there. Like, for example, with this lady. And usually this is some kind how we categorize different people. And when we do character design, we can use these little tips and tricks, even though they're very general and generalizing for people, to say that all the ladies are like that, all the middle-aged ladies are like that, or all of them bake, or all of them are chatty. Well, that's not true, obviously, but when we do that, we know exactly what kind of type it is, the story is about. And now, you know what else we're going to give her? We're going to give her a little dress just on the upper part of the body, or a little bit on a cooking dress. So I'm going to use this sphere to design the dress, and to use it as to find the perspective of it. So I know that this sphere here, the perspective that is suggesting to me where the dress is going to be is around here, and it is going to be around her neck. So I'm just going to use that, and this one as a stripe for her, and I'm going to use this sphere to design some kind of a dress, or I don't know what is it called when you're cooking, you know. You have this kind of dresses, and I'll give her some kind of a ornament here, an old-fashioned dress, and I'll have it knit outside, knit in the back, with a little stripe here on the back, like that. And now we have a really nice character, a little middle-aged lady who likes to bake and likes to cook and is chatty, you know, you just immediately get this feeling from this character. Now let me go with the black pencil in the next lecture.